Room 312 was the loneliest place in St. Mary's Children's Hospital. The nurses knew it. The doctors knew it. Even the janitor who mopped the floors at 6 a.m. knew it. Because every morning, he'd peek through the small window in the door and see the same thing. A 7-year-old girl lying in a hospital bed that was too big for her tiny, frail body. Her name was Emma Claire Thompson. And she was dying. Bone cancer. Stage 4. The kind that steals childhood one excruciating day at a time. Emma had been in room 312 for 43 days. In those 43 days, she'd had 11 chemotherapy sessions. She'd lost all her hair, the beautiful blonde curls her mother used to braid before school. She'd learned words no 7-year-old should know. Metastasis, palliative care, DNR. And in those 43 days, she'd had exactly 0 visitors. Not her mother, not her father, not an aunt, uncle, grandparent, or family friend. Nobody. Emma Claire Thompson was dying alone. And she thought it was because she was bad. 6 months earlier, Emma's life had been normal. She lived with her mother, Rebecca, and her mother's boyfriend, Travis, in a small apartment on the south side of Phoenix. Her father had left when Emma was 2. She didn't remember him. Just a photo her mom kept in a drawer that Emma wasn't supposed to look at. Rebecca worked as a waitress. Travis didn't work much at all. He played video games, drank beer, and got angry when Emma made too much noise. Emma learned to be quiet, to stay in her room, to not ask for things, to be invisible. When her leg started hurting in September, Emma didn't tell anyone for 3 weeks. She didn't want to bother her mother, didn't want Travis to yell at her for complaining, but the pain got worse, started waking her up at night, made it hard to walk to school. Finally, her 2nd grade teacher, Mrs. Patterson, noticed Emma limping and called Rebecca. The first doctor said it was growing pains. The second said maybe a muscle strain. The third doctor ordered an X-ray. That's when they found it. Osteosarcoma. Bone cancer. Aggressive. Advanced. Emma remembered the day her mother got the diagnosis. Rebecca came home from the hospital, went into her bedroom, and didn't come out for 2 days. Travis said, "This is too much. I didn't sign up for this. Round. We always storage." He left that week. Rebecca tried. For about a month, she tried. She took Emma to the first few chemo appointments, sat in the hospital room looking at her phone, brought Emma's stuffed bunny from home, but Rebecca Thompson had always been fragile. The kind of person who crumbled under pressure, who ran from hard things, who'd spent her whole life looking for someone else to fix her problems. A dying daughter was the hardest thing she'd ever faced. So one day, Rebecca dropped Emma off for what was supposed to be a routine chemo session, kissed her forehead, said, "I'll be right back, baby," and never came back. That was 43 days ago. Child Protective Services was involved now. Emma had been officially declared a ward of the state. There were case files, court dates, investigations into parental abandonment, but none of that helped Emma, who woke up every morning in room 312, pressed the nurse call button for help using the bathroom because her legs were too weak, and asked the same question she asked every single day. Did my mommy call? And every day, the answer was the same. Not yet, sweetie, but maybe tomorrow. Sarah Chen had been a pediatric oncology nurse for 12 years, and she'd seen a lot of heartbreak. She'd held the hands of children taking their last breaths. She'd watched parents collapse in grief. She'd learned to compartmentalize, to maintain professional distance, to not take the pain home with her. But Emma broke something in Sarah that all her training couldn't protect. Maybe it was the way Emma never cried when the needles went in. Never complained about the pain. Never asked, "Why me?" Maybe it was the way Emma constantly apologized for needing help, for using too much soap, for existing. "I'm sorry, I'm so much trouble," Emma would whisper when Sarah came to change her IV. "Sweetie, you're not trouble," Sarah would say, her heart breaking. "You're never trouble." But Emma didn't believe it, because if she wasn't trouble, if she wasn't bad, then why Didn't anyone come to see her? That was the logic of a 7-year-old brain trying to make sense of abandonment. If no one visits you, if no one loves you, then it must be your fault. You must deserve it. Emma had started asking Sarah questions. Quiet questions late at night, when the hospital was dim and silent. Nurse Sarah? Do you think I was a bad kid? Is that why my mommy left? Sarah had to excuse herself, go to the supply closet, and cry for 5 minutes before she could answer. No, baby, no. You're perfect. Your mother leaving has nothing to do with you. Sometimes grown-ups make terrible choices. And it's not fair. And it's not your fault. But Emma just looked at her with those huge, sad eyes and whispered, "But if I was good, wouldn't she come back?" No. Dr. Martinez gave Sarah the prognosis privately on a Tuesday afternoon. "The cancer is progressing rapidly, doctor," Martinez said, her voice gentle but clinical. "The chemo isn't working. Emma has maybe 2 weeks. 3 at most. We need to transition to comfort care." "Does she know?" Sarah asked. "Not explicitly. But kids, they always know." That night, Sarah sat with Emma during her dinner, a few bites of mashed potatoes that Emma pushed around her plate without eating. "Emma," Sarah said carefully, "if you could have anything right now, what would it be?" Emma thought about it, her thin face serious. "I'd want to ride a motorcycle," she said finally. Sarah blinked, surprised. "A motorcycle?" Emma nodded, a tiny spark appearing in her eyes, the first Sarah had seen in weeks. "I saw them on TV. The bikers. They looked so free, like they could go anywhere, do anything." She paused. "I bet if you have a motorcycle, nobody can make you feel small." Sarah felt tears prickling her eyes. This 7-year-old girl, dying alone, dreaming of feeling powerful, of feeling free. "Do you like motorcycles a lot?" Sarah asked. "I love them," Emma whispered. "I used to draw pictures of them. Before." She held up her small hands. The chemo and cancer had made them tremble slightly. "I wished," Emma continued, her voice getting quieter, "that one day I could ride one. Just once. Feel the wind. Feel fast." She looked at Sarah. "Is that silly?" "No, baby. That's not silly at all." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, "Nurse Sarah, when I die, will anyone come?" The question hit Sarah like a physical blow. "What do you mean, sweetie? To my funeral? Will anyone come? Or will I be alone then too?" Sarah couldn't speak. She just pulled Emma into a gentle hug, careful of all the tubes and wires, and held this dying child, who thought she'd be buried with no one to mourn her. "I'm scared," Emma whispered into Sarah's shoulder. "I'm scared of being alone when it happens. And I'm scared that nobody will remember me. That I'll just disappear, like I was never here." Sarah pulled back, holding Emma's small face in her hands. "You listen to me, Emma Claire Thompson. You matter. You are loved. And I promise you, I swear to you, you will not be alone." It was a promise Sarah had no idea how to keep, but she was going to try. That night, after her shift ended, Sarah sat in her car in the hospital parking lot and did something she'd never done before. She posted on Facebook, not her personal page. She wasn't supposed to share patient information, but there was a local community group, Phoenix Area Community Support, that she'd joined months ago for apartment recommendations. She wrote carefully, "I work at St. Mary's Children's Hospital. There's a 7-year-old patient dying of cancer. She has no family visiting. No one. She loves motorcycles, says they represent freedom. Is there anyone in the biker community who might visit? Show her pictures? Maybe FaceTime from a ride? She needs to know someone cares. Please share." Sarah hit post, feeling slightly ridiculous. What were the chances anyone would? Her phone dinged, then dinged again, then started ringing. Within an hour, her post had been shared 40 times. Within 3 hours, it had reached motorcycle clubs across Arizona. And within 6 hours, Sarah got a phone call from a man with a deep, rough voice who introduced himself as Gunner. "I'm calling about the little girl," he said. "The one who loves motorcycles. My club wants to visit. Is tomorrow okay? Wednesday, 10:30 a.m." Emma was sleeping when Sarah came into room 312 with a strange expression on her face, something between excitement and nerves. "Emma, sweetie," Sarah said gently, touching Emma's thin shoulder. "Wake up. You have visitors." Emma's eyes fluttered open. For a moment, hope flashed across her face, that desperate, heartbreaking hope that maybe her mother had finally come. But then reality set in. "I don't have visitors," Emma said quietly. "Nobody visits me." "You do today," Sarah said with a smile. "4 someones. They heard you like motorcycles." Emma's eyes widened slightly. "Really? Really? They're waiting outside. Can they come in?" Emma looked down at herself, at her hospital gown, her bald head, her thin arms covered in bruises from IV needles. "I look bad," she whispered. "You look beautiful," Sarah said firmly. "And they came just to meet you. Yes or no, sweetie?" Emma took a shaky breath, then nodded. Sarah stepped outside and gestured to the 4 men waiting in the hallway. They were exactly what you'd picture when someone said bikers. Tall, broad-shouldered, covered in tattoos, leather vests with patches that read, "Desert Riders MC." Long beards, 2 gray, 1 white, 1 dark, muscled arms, weathered faces, the kind of men who looked like they'd lived hard lives and won hard battles. They'd been standing in the sterile hospital hallway looking completely out of place, these warriors in leather surrounded by cheerful pediatric artwork and pastel walls. But the moment Sarah nodded, their faces transformed. The hardness melted away, replaced by something gentle, protective. The leader, Gunner, 58 years old, president of the Desert Riders, knelt down before entering, making himself smaller, less intimidating. "Remember," he said quietly to his brothers. "She's tiny. She's scared. We don't want to overwhelm her." The others nodded. Hammer, 62, white beard, the club's road captain. Bear, 55, the biggest of them all, with tattoos covering every inch of his arms. And Preacher, 61, the quietest, who'd buried his own daughter from leukemia 15 years ago and had never fully recovered. They entered room 312 like they were entering a sacred space. And there, in a bed that seemed to swallow her whole, was Emma, 7 years old, maybe 50 pounds. Bald from chemo, skin pale, eyes too big for her thin face. Connected to an IV drip, monitors beeping softly. A stuffed bunny clutched in one arm. She looked at these 4 massive, intimidating bikers and whispered, "You came for me?" Gunner felt something crack inside his chest. "Yeah, darlin'," he said, his rough voice suddenly gentle. "We came for you." Emma stared at them, her eyes filling with tears. "But why?" "Nobody comes for me. I thought maybe I was bad." 4 massive bikers stood around Emma's hospital bed, and every single one of them felt their hearts shatter at that question. "You came for me?" Gunner moved closer, pulling up a chair so he could sit at Emma's eye level. His leather vest creaked as he leaned forward, his weathered face showing a gentleness that contrasted sharply with his intimidating appearance. "Emma," he said, his voice rough but warm, "we heard there was a little girl in this hospital who loved motorcycles, who dreamed about riding free, and we thought, well, we can't let that go unanswered." Bear, the biggest of them all, 6'4" and solid muscle, knelt on the other side of the bed. Despite his size, he moved carefully, gently, like he was approaching something precious and fragile. "Darlin'," Bear said in his deep, rumbling voice, "you're not bad. You hear me? You're not bad at all." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "But if I'm not bad, why doesn't anyone come? Why did my mommy leave?" Preacher, the quiet one who'd been standing back, stepped forward. His face showed old pain, the kind that never fully heals. "Sometimes," Preacher said softly, "grown-ups can't handle hard things. Sometimes they break." And when they break, they run. But that's about them being weak, not about you being bad. My little girl, Preacher continued, his voice catching slightly. And I was there every single day until... He couldn't finish, but he didn't need to. Emma's eyes widened. Your daughter had cancer? Preacher nodded. Her name was Lily. She was 8. That was 15 years ago. He pulled out his wallet, showed Emma a worn photograph of a smiling girl with a bald head, wearing a pink hospital gown. She looks like me, Emma whispered. She does, Preacher agreed. And she was brave. Just like you. Emma touched the photograph gently. Is she in heaven now? Yeah, darlin'. She is. Does it hurt? Dying? The question hung in the air. Sarah, standing in the doorway, put her hand over her mouth. Hammer, the oldest of the group with his white beard, sat down on the edge of Emma's bed. I can't lie to you, little one, Hammer said. I don't know, but I can tell you what I do know. I know that being scared is normal. I know that wanting someone with you is normal. And I know that nobody should face hard things alone. He reached out and gently took Emma's small hand in his large, tattooed one. So here's what we're gonna do, Hammer continued. We're gonna visit you. Every day. We're gonna tell you stories about riding. Show you pictures of our bikes. Make you feel like you're part of the crew. Because you are now. You're a desert rider, honorary member. Emma's thin face showed the first real smile Sarah had seen in weeks. You already are, Gunnar said firmly. We'll get you a vest made. Your own patches. Desert riders. Don't abandon their own. For the next hour, the bikers stayed. They showed Emma photos on their phones, pictures of their motorcycles, of desert rides at sunset, of their club gatherings. They told her about the feeling of wind in your face, of freedom on the open road, of brotherhood. Emma listened with wide, fascinated eyes, asking questions, actually engaging for the first time in weeks. What's the fastest you've ever gone? Have you ever ridden through a storm? Do the motorcycles have names? The bikers answered every question with patience and enthusiasm, treating her queries like they were the most important things in the world. Bear pulled up a video on his phone footage from a ride through the Arizona desert. The camera mounted on his handlebars showing the endless road stretching ahead. Mountains in the distance. The rumble of the engine audible. This is what it feels like, Bear said, holding the phone so Emma could see. This is freedom. Emma watched, transfixed. Tears ran down her cheeks. But she was smiling. I wish I could feel it, she whispered. Just once. The 4 bikers exchanged glances. Gunnar nodded slightly. We'll see what we can do, Gunnar said. Over the next 5 days, something remarkable happened in room 312. It stopped being the loneliest place in St. Mary's Children's Hospital. Every single day, at least 2 of the desert riders showed up. They'd bring gifts, a small leather vest they'd had made in Emma's size with desert riders, prospect patches, toy motorcycles, pictures of bikes, even a small motorcycle helmet painted pink with flames. They'd sit with Emma for hours. They'd help her with her dinner when her hands shook too much to hold the fork. They'd read to her when she was too tired to keep her eyes open. They'd just be there. Word spread through the hospital. Other nurses would peek in, amazed at the sight of these tough, intimidating bikers being so gentle with this tiny, dying girl. Dr. Martinez pulled Sarah aside on day 3. I've never seen anything like this, doctor, Martinez said, shaking her head in wonder. Emma's pain levels are down. She's eating more. She's talking. Whatever those men are doing, it's working. What they were doing was simple. They were loving her. They were showing Emma that she mattered, that she wasn't alone, that she was worth showing up for. The desert riders also started a campaign. Word spread through the motorcycle community. A 7-year-old girl was dying alone, abandoned by her family. The bikers responded. Riders from across Arizona started sending cards, small gifts, photos. The walls of room 312 became covered with pictures of motorcycles and messages. Stay strong, Emma. You're one of us now. Desert Riders forever. We got you. You're not alone, little sister. Emma would look at those walls and cry, but they were different tears now. Not tears of loneliness, but tears of overwhelming gratitude. I have a family, she told Sarah one night. On day 6, Emma asked the question that would break everyone's heart. It was late afternoon. Gunnar and Preacher were visiting. Emma had been quiet for a while, just holding Mr. Hops and thinking. Then, in a small voice, she asked, "When I die, will you come to my funeral?" The room went completely silent. "Emma," Gunnar started. "I know I'm dying," Emma interrupted, her voice matter-of-fact. "The doctors don't say it, but I know. I feel it. And I'm scared." She looked up at them with those huge, sad eyes. "I'm scared it'll be just me. In a box, with nobody there." Preacher had to turn away, his shoulders shaking. "Will you come?" Emma pressed. "Please? I don't want to be alone." Even then, Gunnar moved closer, sitting on the edge of her bed. He took her small hand in his. "Emma, listen to me. When the time comes, and I hope that's a long, long time, from now, you will not be alone. I promise you that. Every single desert rider will be there. Not just us 4. The whole chapter. Maybe chapters from other states too. You'll have a send-off that shows the world exactly how much you mattered." "Really?" Emma's voice was hopeful but uncertain. "Really," Gunnar confirmed. "We take care of our own. Always." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then, Will you sing? At my funeral? So it won't be so scary?" Preacher turned back around, his face wet with tears. He came to Emma's other side and knelt down. "Sweetheart," Preacher said, his voice thick with emotion. Emma's face fell, confused and hurt. "Because you're not." Preacher couldn't finish. He was crying too hard. Gunnar picked up where Preacher couldn't. "Because we're not giving up on you. Because every day you're still here is a day worth fighting for. Because you're stronger than you know." "But the doctors said." "I don't care what the doctors said," Bear interrupted, his big voice filling the room. "We've seen miracles before. We've seen impossible things happen. And even if the worst happens, you're going to live every single day you have left, surrounded by people who love you. You understand?" Emma nodded slowly. "You love me? We love you." All 4 bikers said in unison. Emma started crying. Not sad tears, overwhelmed tears. She reached her arms out, and Gunnar carefully gathered her into a hug, mindful of all her tubes and wires. "I love you too," Emma whispered. "All of you. You're my real family." 8 days after the bikers first walked into room 312, something unexpected happened. Dr. Martinez came in during morning rounds, did her examination, looked at Emma's latest test results, and frowned. "This doesn't make sense," Dr. Martinez muttered. "What doesn't?" Sarah asked. "Her numbers. They're better. Not much, but measurably better. Her white cell count is up. The tumor markers are down slightly." "Doctor." Martinez looked at Emma, who was sleeping peacefully, then at the walls covered in motorcycle photos and messages of support. "The cancer is still there," Dr. Martinez said carefully. "She's still very sick, but something has changed. The decline has slowed." Sarah looked at Emma's face, peaceful, no longer carrying that look of lonely despair, and understood. Hope was keeping her alive. Love was keeping her alive. The Desert Riders didn't tell Emma about the test results. They just kept showing up, kept bringing joy, kept reminding her she mattered. On day 10, they did something special. With the hospital's permission and Dr. Martinez's careful oversight, they brought Emma outside for the first time in weeks. They wheeled her bed monitors, IV pole, and all out to the hospital parking lot where 20 desert riders had assembled with their motorcycles. Emma's eyes went huge when she saw them. 20 chrome and steel motorcycles gleaming in the Arizona sun. 20 riders in leather vests. All there for her. "We can't let you ride yet," Gunnar said. You're too fragile. But we thought you might like to hear them. At Gunner's signal, all 20 riders started their engines simultaneously. The roar was incredible. Thunder and power and freedom all rolled into one sound. Emma's face lit up with the biggest smile Sarah had ever seen. She started laughing. Actually laughing as the vibrations rumbled through the parking lot. The riders revved their engines, making the sound rise and fall like a mechanical symphony. Emma closed her eyes, feeling the rumble in her chest, imagining what it would feel like to actually ride, to feel that power beneath her, to be free. When they finally shut off the engines, Emma opened her eyes. There were tears on her cheeks, but she was still smiling. That was the best thing ever, she breathed. Just wait, Bear said with a grin. When you get stronger, we're taking you for a real ride. Deal? Deal, Emma said firmly. 3 weeks later, Emma was still alive. The doctors couldn't explain it. The cancer hadn't disappeared, it was still there, still terminal. But Emma was stable, fighting, holding on. She'd gained 2 pounds. Started physical therapy. Was even talking about going back to school someday. The Desert Riders had become a permanent fixture at St. Mary's. The nurses loved them. The other kids on the pediatric floor would wave when they saw the bikers walking through the halls. Emma's room wasn't just room 312 anymore. It was Emma's room. It was decorated with motorcycle posters, leather vests hanging on the walls, photos of her new family. And Emma? Emma had stopped asking if her mother called. She'd stopped thinking she was bad. She'd stopped being alone. Because Emma Claire Thompson, 7 years old, fighter, survivor, honorary desert rider, had learned the most important lesson anyone can learn. Family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you when you're at your lowest, and refuses to let you face the darkness alone. Sometimes family wears leather and rides motorcycles. Sometimes angels have tattoos and beards and look like they could break you in half but would never, ever hurt you. And sometimes, when a 7-year-old girl thinks she's dying alone because she's bad, 4 bikers walk into a hospital room and teach her the truth. She was always worth showing up for. She was always worth loving. She was always enough. 6 months later, Emma sat behind Gunner on his Harley-Davidson, wearing her pink flame helmet, her small arms wrapped around his waist, grinning so wide her face hurt. Her cancer was in remission. The doctors called it a miracle. The Desert Riders called it Emma being tougher than cancer. They were riding through the Arizona desert at sunset, the sky painted orange and pink, the road stretching out endlessly ahead of them. Emma felt the wind in her face, felt the power of the engine beneath her, felt free. Behind them, 19 more motorcycles rode in formation. Her brothers, her family. Emma threw her head back and laughed, pure, joyful, alive. Because this 7-year-old girl who'd once thought she was dying alone had discovered something better than anything she'd ever dreamed. She was living. She was loved. She was home. If you believe in showing up for those who have no one. If you believe in the power of chosen family. If you believe that love can heal wounds that medicine can't touch. Subscribe. Comment. Angels wear leather if this story touched your heart, because every child deserves to know they matter. Every child deserves someone who will show up. Every child deserves their own angels. And sometimes, those angels ride motorcycles